Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session on the community. Today, we're going to discuss the HR service delivery PDF document templates and how they could benefit our HR service delivery. I'm Michael Sheridan. I'm one of the product managers in the HR product management business unit here at ServiceNow. So first thing we'll talk about is a document template. So what does it do for us? So it enables assigning of fillable PDF documents. It also facilitates the mappings to the PDF document from data within ServiceNow. So we just want a document where we want to pull data in to facilitate that automation. This is generated when referenced from an HR service within HR service delivery. So this is how we can present the fillable PDF to our employees by way of the HR service. Kingston offered the ability that we can leverage HR criteria to apply the appropriate PDF template to the appropriate employee. And I'll get into some of those details, but a new feature that we introduced in Kingston. So you may ask, well, what are some of the use cases where I would use this PDF document template? And what we've seen with customers in the past is one being the non-disclosure agreement. So we would want the employee to sign a non-disclosure agreement that would be captured on the task and ultimately captured within the case. We may have another where we have an at-will employment agreement where we want the employee to sign. Another could be an IT security agreement. And then last and certainly not least, we have state and federal documents that we want to pre-populate in order to get a signature from an employee to go into their employee record. So next question is, you may ask, well, how does all of this work? And I'm going to show you step by step from PowerPoints, and I'm going to go into a demonstration. Well, I'll do a live demonstration of me creating this fillable PDF template and all the components that it takes in order to get there. So step one is we have to create a managed document. And the managed document module is activated when we have our human resources scoped application plugin enabled. So we have that ability to access the managed document module in order to create and start this process. So my step one is to create the managed document. My step two is to create a revision so I can upload the PDF file. So I'm still in the managed documents module, and now I'm uploading my fillable PDF as a revision into the managed document, and ultimately I'm going to publish that revision. So my next step is, once I have that published revision, is I go to the PDF document template module and I create a new HR PDF template. So I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to say which table it's going to call from. I'm going to select the document revision, so that one I just uploaded. And then I could specify HR criteria. So if we want to separate documents based on a employee's location, I could put HR criteria for US employees, for example, or for UK employees, which kind of feeds into our document type field, which is a functionality that we enhanced in Kingston to allow you to use that document type as a container for those like documents. So the feature is that I can select a document type within my template, and we're going to have the system pull the appropriate PDF template based on the HR criteria. So to give an example is, I have just one HR service that calls to the NDA document type, and then the system is going to pull in the appropriate document based on the HR criteria that I specify for each of those documents. So again, functionality we enhanced in Kingston to facilitate that dynamic document generation. So just some additional details that I already kind of touched on is that we use that document type to dynamically leverage that bucket, which we call the document type, to present the documents to the employee, again, based on that HR criteria. A thing to note is that if I meet multiple document types as an employee, it's not going to apply any of the documents, but it's going to apply a message stating that the more than one criteria was met. So a tip or trick when it comes to document type is make sure that if you're going to base them on HR criteria, that the employees will only meet one, meaning that you don't have one that states that they're an employee and that they're in the US as two different documents. So just a tip or trick when it comes to document types within the PDF document template. So moving on, we've created the document, the PDF document template. So now what we want to do is we want to parse the fields from that fillable PDF. So what this does is it allows the system to go through your fillable PDF and identify any of the fields on that document that are fillable, meaning that we can map to. A key to know, and if you look where the arrow is pointing to the parse PDF link, if you've gone through step 1 through 3 and you are looking to parse the document and you don't see that link, most likely the document that you uploaded as part of the revision does not have fillable fields. I've come across, I think, more than a handful of these use cases to where a customer, a partner presents a document that has cells, has boxes, but are not in a PDF fillable field. So if that's the case, you will not see that blue link that the arrow is indicating on this print screen. If you do see the parse PDF link, you could click on that link and then it will show you the PDF template mappings, where then you could go on to the next step. So your step 5 is to reference the new PDF document template in the HR case template to present the assignee as a to-do in the Employee Service Center. So in my example here, you see I have a mapping for the PDF template, and it's calling to the non-disclosure agreement as part of this case template. So when I have that service activity for the employee to sign the document, it's going to present the PDF that's called out here. Again, I referred to that document type earlier. If it was a matter that you didn't want to map to one specific PDF template where you want to use that document type and have the system automatically apply the PDF based on HR criteria, then the field you would choose, your mapping would be for document type, and then you would choose NDA, if you follow along with my example, as your document type. And that's basically telling the application that you want to use that dynamic document generation functionality based on the HR criteria. So next, what I'd like to do is get into the demonstration live in my version of Kingston, where I'm going to walk through each of those steps and kind of talk through some of the tips and tricks along the way. So what I have now is just my managed document. I'm going to create a new record. So this would be my step 1, and I'm going to call this document my NBA test. So now we can move on to step 2 of that of the steps to progress this PDF document template, and I need to create a revision so I could upload that fillable PDF. So I'm going to take the default revision number, and I'm going to select my document, which is my NDA sample that I've created. Let me fill out my revision name. So now I've saved that revision. Now I have to publish that revision because it's just in draft. So it's not going to be available for selection until I publish the revision. So I'm going to submit, And then I'm gonna go to my next step to publish. So out of box, I don't have any approvals around my publishing of this revision. So now what I've done is I've created my managed document, step one. Step two, I've created my revision and published that revision. So now I can select my NDA test 123 as a PDF document template. And one thing I want to point out just to show you my document template, here's the NDA sample that I uploaded as a fillable document. So as you can see, I have fillable fields. I could type in my name as part of this document, so I know that it has fillable fields. So going back to my demonstration, my next step would be I want to now create the PDF document template. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my HR administration document templates, and here is HR administrator. I have permission to create. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new, and I'm going to say PDF document template. And I'm going to call this my NDA test 123. I'm going to call to my document revision that I just created earlier, and that's my NDA test 123. And again, if you don't see your document that you created as a managed document in this field, you may want to look to make sure that you published. So just something to look out for. I'm not going to specify any HR criteria for this document. It's going to be available for everyone. And then I'm going to go ahead and select what document type I have. So I could create multiple HR PDF templates with the same document type. The key is if I want to use those other document types, I'm going to have to specify unique HR criteria for each of those documents. So again, in this use case, I'm just doing a demonstration. I'm not going to specify any HR criteria, but just so you're aware of how that works. So I'm going to go ahead and submit my PDF document template. And now I'm going to go back into that document template. And I'm going to parse my PDF fields and mark the signatures. So I'm going to go ahead and click this parse PDF to allow the fields to be mapped. And then I'm not going to go through each of the mappings, but I'll do one as reference so you could see how you can dynamically populate these fields. So for the zip code, I want to map this to the subject person's HR profile zip code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dot walk to the subject person's HR profile, and I'm going to map it to the home postal zip code, and I'm going to go ahead and save that mapping. So now you can see my zip code on the fillable PDF is going to be mapped to the subject person's HR profile home zip code based on the case variable. So this is how we're mapping variables from the case. So once I get all of my mappings done, my next step is to mark the signatures. So I want to mark the area where I want my employee to be able to sign. So I'm going to look at my fillable PDF and I'm going to go to the last page, and logically, I want to put the signature under the signature block. So I'm going to go to add the field, and I'm going to mark the signature. And if you noticed, I made the blue box kind of small. Just as kind of a tip or trick in doing so, you'll see that sometimes the signature will expand beyond the boxes. So, I'll have part of my signature up in the date of birth box. That's why I draw the box smaller, or you could move that box around by redrawing it maybe lower on the line, maybe more in the center, maybe more to the right. So just so you have the signature into the fillable PDF as you would expect. So I'm going to call this employee signature. And I'm going to map this to the subject person on my case. So now when this task is presented to the employee, they're going to sign it right on this signature line where I drew the blue box. Well, there may be a use case in your scenario where, well, we also want the manager to sign the document. How can we make that happen? So what I could do then is I could add another field and I could draw it in a different area. And I'm just going to draw it here, for example, where I want the manager signature to go next to the employee. So now I want to map that to the subject person manager. So now on this fillable PDF, I could present two different tasks, one to the employee. Once the employee signs, we could have it so it's sent to the manager, and the manager's signature will go on that document as well. So real neat features we have for fillable PDFs. I don't know of a limitation if you wanted to go to 10, 11 signatures. I don't know of a limitation. I haven't seen more than 3 in any use case that I've currently worked with. Okay, so the next part that we would want to apply is the date signed. So what I want to do is I want to use a signing date, and I want this to be the subject person. So I want the subject person's signing date to be used for the sign date field. So we can do the same for the manager. If we wanted the date the manager signed, we would have another field that may be called manager date signed, and then we would map that to the subject person's manager. So this is how we can use variables for our mappings as part of the PDF template. So now that we're done with marking our signatures, we're done with our mappings, I'm going to go ahead and update that PDF template. So my next step and my last step is then to go to my HR services and to apply this template into my non-disclosure agreement. So I'm going to open my non-disclosure agreement. I'm going to go into the correct scope. And now as part of my template, I could add the field for the PDF template. And if I click my drop down, I'll see my non-disclosure test that I created earlier. So when I go ahead and save this case template, now when I have a case that uses the non-disclosure agreement where I have my mapping, it's going to, I can present that fillable PDF to an employee by way of a service activity. And in this case, I have my fulfillment type of service activity. And I can see I have a signed NDA and I have a manager signed document. So this is how I can present it to the employee to sign at sequence 1. And I could present it to the manager to sign at sequence 2. And this is how I could facilitate the order. So after the manager signs the document, that second document with the signature will then be attached to the case for future reference. So where I want to circle back to is that extra feature that I mentioned that was introduced with Kingston as part of the a document type functionality. So if I go back to my non-disclosure agreement, and I open my template, so I may say, well, I want to use that new functionality to dynamically apply the correct PDF template based on HR criteria. So I would not map directly to that NDA test 1, 2, 3. What I would do is I'd create another mapping for a field, and I would map that to my document type. So I'm going to remove my PDF document template, and I'm going to go to document type. And if I click the drop down for document type, you see I had one that was called NDA. So now when I save this case template, it's going to use the document type of NDA, and the system, the application, when this this case is generated, it's going to look into all of my document types that have a designation of NDA and say, okay, which document do I need to present to this employee? So a great feature that was introduced in Kingston, and I would recommend you leverage that if you have different documents based on different regions, different departments, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and save that template. And now when I create a case, I would have that document generated based on HR criteria. So going back to my presentation, okay, there's some things that the document template doesn't do. So a lot of the use cases, and I mentioned that we use government and state type documents to be filled and the employee signs. Something to know is that the PDF document template does not facilitate me entering in my own information when it's presented to me as an employee. So here I just have an example where I typed in Michael Joseph, my last name. I said that I'm married. When I sign this document, these fields are not going to be saved with the PDF generated document. So that's one functionality I think is a misconception of a lot of customers and partners, that we could fill out the document as it's presented to us as an employee, and then when we sign it, it's saved, which that's not how it works out of box. Typically, we get that information from the employee, and then we map it into the government or the state document, and then we just have the employee sign it. So I think a feature that's important to know, what we can and what we cannot do as part of the PDF document template functionality. So with that said, it brings us to our last slide, and I'll open it up for questions. So Lisa, are there any questions on the live chat?
I haven't seen any questions come through quite yet, but we still have time.
So if there's any questions from the audience, it's always beneficial to present them. Then the viewers of the community post will always be keen to the questions that were asked and get their answers even quicker. So I could take this that this was super clear to everyone, and we covered all the items that would have brought any questions.
Just waiting for a few more seconds to see if there's any more from the delay, if there's any questions. Did you have one more slide to show?
No, this is my last slide.
Could this be a platform feature? Is a question that just came through.
Could it be a platform feature? Well, it's only leveraged in HR right now. I could certainly follow up with the other BUs to see what their intentions are for fillable PDFs in the other applications.
Is this recorded and put on the community? Yes. In the top of the chat, Dale, I have put the link where it is on the community, so you can always rewatch it and then post more questions there. Any of our Ask the Expert events that have even gone 3 or 4 years ago, you can always watch them and post questions, and people, other experts in the community will respond to your questions. Sure. Just a reminder also, if you post questions on the community, you need to just register. It's free to register, and we don't spam you. Anything else you wanted to share, Michael?
No, that would sum it up. But I would just, as a call to action for everyone, dig in, understand the features on your own for your use case. Certainly, follow the community. There's a lot of posts around PDFs, fillable PDFs, what other customers, what other partners are doing. So certainly stay tuned with the community to get any updates or have questions answered by your peers or by folks here at ServiceNow.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and we'll see you on the community.
Yes, thanks, everyone.